I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning for a bass fishing tournament. First thing I did was check the weather because weather plays a big role in fishing. And next thing, I went out, packed the boat up, and with everything I thought I might need for that day, then drove out to the lake. That's why today I'm going to tell you about fishing, bass fishing in particular, and how fish move throughout the year and how to catch them. So first I'm going to talk about how fish move throughout the year. Second, I'm going to talk about how to catch them in the spring and summer. And third, I'm going to talk about how to catch them in the fall and winter. So first of all, how fish move throughout the year. I'll start off in the spring. In the spring, they move up real shallow and spawn. So they're going to be in coves and other like real shallow, close to the bank. Then once it starts, after the spawn, they're going to go over to secondary points, which are points right outside of coves, specifically the spawning coves. And then once it starts warming up and the water temp heats up, in the summer half the fish are going to go shallow into the grass or trees, or if the lake has docks. Then the other half of the fish will go out, sit on rock piles out deeper, because that's where the water's cooler, out deeper. And then into the fall, when the water starts cooling down, they start moving shallower again to feed up for winter. They'll chase bait back in the coves sometimes. And then once it gets real cold in the winter, they're going to move back out deep and sit on like main lake points or deeper rock piles. They become a lot more lethargic and don't move as much. That's according to Matt Allen from Tactical Bassing. And so now that you know how fish move throughout the year, I'll tell you how to catch them in the spring and summer. So in the spring, they're on beds spawning, like I said. So to find those beds, you're going to want to go up real shallow in the coves. And they look like little just cleared off areas about this big, sometimes bigger, with no grass, or they could be more rocky. A lot of times they have white rocks on them, so they're easy to see. So to catch them on beds, you're going to want to, when they're spawning, they don't want to eat. They just don't like when things get on their beds. So you can throw something like a jig. So according to Lucky Tackle Box, the jig is one of the top 5 baits for bed fishing. And so a lot of times there's a specific spot on the bed that they especially don't like. So you got to find that spot, and a lot of times it takes a while to catch them, but a lot of times you can. And then also in the spring, if you don't want to bed fish, there's also a lot of other fish up shallow. You can use stuff like glide baits, smaller one or bigger ones, to target the bigger fish. And then if you just want to load the boat, catch a lot of fish, something like a drop shot up shallow would work. And then once they start moving out onto secondary points after the spawn, the same type of stuff would work, something like this to try to get the biggest fish in the lake to eat. Or if you just want to catch a lot of fish, a drop shot, or the jig also works out there as well. And then once you get into the summer, if you're targeting the shallow fish in the grass or in the trees, a jig works really well. It's pretty weedless, so you can pitch it right into the middle of a tree or something, and usually you won't get caught. Hopefully there's some fish in there and you'll catch one. And then if you want to fish out deep, They're out sitting on rock piles. One of the best baits for that is the drop shot. You can catch a lot of fish, including big ones out there. So after the summer ends, the transition to the fall and winter begins. So now I'm going to tell you about how to catch them in the fall and winter. So in the fall, the fish move up and start feeding. So, I mean, you can fish a drop shot to try to catch fish, and then a spinnerbait also works, especially on a windy day, because they're eating bait fish, and this imitates a bait fish, as well as glide baits like this, or even bigger ones like this. And then once it starts cooling off even more in the winter, they'll move out deeper and move real slow. So you're gonna have to fish something that you can just soak in the same spot and just move it inches at a time. So a drop shot works really well, and a jig also works really well. So Brandon Lester on Bassmaster.com says, I like to use slower moving baits in cold water, baits that can stay in one place and be worked slowly, like a jig or something that can suspend in the same place. So that just shows that in the winter they slow down so much. You just need to fish real slow. You want it just sitting there right in front of their face a lot of times, and that's the only way they're going to eat it. Winter is a lot harder to catch fish because they don't move as much, and because they don't move as much, they don't need to eat as much. So you don't usually catch as many fish, but if you're going to catch fish, you need to be moving incredibly slow. So today I talked about how fish move throughout the year, and how to catch them in the spring and summer, and then how to catch them in the fall and winter. So I mentioned that every day before I go, I check the weather. You of course know what season it is, but the weather on the specific day will change the water temperature and dictate what you need to do that day. So every day you go out hoping to catch a big fish like this,